In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Christ is in our midst. A while ago, I was watching the Discovery Channel. They play many programs about science and nature. And this particular program that I saw was about the sea. Scientists and oceanographers sent down an unmanned mechanical submarine in some of the deepest parts of the ocean. Upon finding a large valley under the water that descended for literally miles, the highly pressurized sub, containing only a camera, descended farther than any other sub or camera had gone. The water was completely black. Even the sun's rays would not reach down these depths. The pressure was so great at these depths that a styrofoam cup, they said, would be crushed smaller than a thimble. Yet the sub continued to descend. The camera was seeing nothing but blackness. Because of the great pressure of the water, there were no sharks, there were no coral, no fish, nothing. After a few minutes of nothingness, the sub continued to descend, and a dim light was seen in the distance. The sub guided its way towards this strange light. The closer the sub got, the brighter the light became. The light was moving, and it was multicolored. Never had this been seen before, especially so many miles under the sea where no life was thought to exist. The sub, still approaching, came to discover a new sea creature that had the ability to adapt to such enormous water pressure and had an unknown ability to project a beautiful multicolored light from its insides out. This creature had the ability to adapt to extreme pressure and had the unknown ability to project a beautiful light from the inside out. The scientists began to see many others similar in nature in that area and collected one of these spaceship-like creatures for further examination and study. Rising up to the surface with the sub and this little creature, the light of the sun became stronger, and thus the creature's light faded from the abundance of the light on the horizon. This small creature rose to the surface, striking a chord within me. This small, unknown, and overlooked creature is a symbol of what we should be. In our lives, we have good days and we have bad days. We have good days filled with joy, success, and triumph. It is in such days that we hopefully give thanks to God for all the blessings that He has bestowed upon us. But unfortunately, many times we gloss over our thanksgiving in the bright days and only complain to God when our so-called luck runs out, when things don't seem to be going the way that we had planned for them. It is in these darkest hours of our lives that this small sea creature speaks to us. The saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But many times that is easier said than done. Most times when the going gets tough, the tough get angry or get out of the way. We get angry with ourselves or one another, and sometimes even angry with God. When the days get dark and the pressure is on, it is easy to lose sight of the end of the tunnel, and we tend to crack under the pressure. This little sea creature that experienced a great physical pressure all around it every day didn't only live in it, but it thrived in it. And it also projected an inner light to all the world. Its inner light was its guide and its beacon. It was proof that life does not just exist in the darkest conditions. It can live brilliantly. The light that illumined this creature came from God's creative ability. Likewise, the light that resides in our souls comes from God as well. Theologically, the light in our souls increases and decreases according to our relationship with Christ. The light can become a large flame or a smoldering candle. It seems that the magnitude of our light inside, the Holy Spirit, is greatly affected by the pressures that we feel from the outside. If there is no trouble and all is well. But in order to thrive as Christians, we must be beacons of light in the darkest and most difficult times, not only for our salvation, but for the salvation of our brothers and sisters as well. You might ask, how can this be done? Upon further examination of the small sea creature, the scientists found that the inner light exuded from it. It was essential for its survival in many ways. Again, the sea creature's means of survival parallels ours. The only way that we can survive is with the Holy Spirit shining through our flesh. We see in all the icons and mosaics in the different churches the halos around the heads of the saints. This is the church's way of telling us that the Holy Spirit was not just a dim candle within them, but it was a holy fire that showed through to the outside when it was dark, and even when the days were bright. This experience of the abundance of godly light is called theosis. We hear the word thrown around many times in religious studies, but in short, it is a barometer of how close or far away we are in our relationship to God. Remember on the road to Emmaus, the two disciples had stated afterwards, when they were speaking with Jesus and didn't recognize him, they said, "Didn't our hearts burn within us while he walked on the road with us and while he spoke with us?" That, my brothers and sisters, is the fueling of the flame and the light inside our heart and our soul. It grows bright and warm when we come into the presence and into a closer relationship with God. If we focus on increasing that light through the life of the church, we too will be like this small sea creature. But we must continually put ourselves into the presence of Christ. We must continually walk towards him. We must continually dust off the candle inside our hearts and light it and light those around us. We must continually try to reach inside our souls, inside our hearts, and inside our minds, and make that light a burning flame to show through even the darkest of days with one another and with all of the world. And as the scientists had said about this amazing sea creature, we too must, quote unquote, have the ability to adapt to extreme pressure and project a beautiful light from the inside out. Let us do that to ourselves, to our family, to our friends, and to all the world. Amen.